I gotta tell you, I'm so excited to hang out with these guys, and I feel like I say it all the time, but I'm in a lucky chair to sit with people I'm such a fan of.
Thanks,
Brothers
man.
Osborne are here, man.
Oh, thanks for saying that.
Dude, what you guys are honestly like top on my list as far as if I'm listening to a playlist, going to a show. I miss shows because you guys throw down like one of my favorite things is guitar riffs.
Yeah, me too.
We got them.
A friend of mine, Blake, is like a big guitar nerd. Like I'm not, I couldn't tell you anything about the guitar you're playing. He could, but like there's something about the riffs. And is that part of the show? And this is like the dumbest question I'm going to start with. Do you plan where you're going with that? Because it literally
with like the
feels
guitar solos and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yes and no. We try to keep a certain portion of the show a little bit like free form. Because it keeps it fresh for us, you know, and I really enjoy like soloing and improvising and stuff like that. But also the people that are repeat fans that have been to like, you know, 20 shows that year, if they saw the same solo every time, it would be so boring. And personally, I would be like half asleep because I just can't do that. And
yeah, we go to all the shows.
Yeah, we've been to every one of our shows, and we would get very bored. Yeah, we've been to all. Dude, we have been to every show. Actually, I think TJ's been to 2 more shows than I have. I missed 2 shows. And but yeah, we try to throw a little bit of the unknown element in there because that's what live music should be. It should be a little bit unknown. That's what keeps it interesting.
And I mean, you guys have rocked. I mean, I haven't been to a ton of shows, not as many as TJ, but you always bring it, so I can't wait. Do you have a plan for when live music comes back, or do you have something that you're working on maybe in town here sooner than later?
Yeah, well, I mean, we put an album out last October called Skeletons,
So good.
and thank you. And we haven't had the opportunity yet to play any of those records live. Or any of those. Right, I sound like I work at the label now. Any of those songs live. They call them records. That's so funny. I can't believe I just call it records.
Yeah,
anyhow,
it's a good record.
But anyhow, so we haven't had a chance to play any of that stuff. We've played a couple things over the little virtual shows, which just don't have the same feel. I don't think for us or the fans. So. Getting in the room, playing that stuff, that's always taught us the most, I think. We've made so many decisions in our career based on our live performance, watching our fans' reactions. Like I always use It Ain't My Fault as an example. That song probably wouldn't have been a single had it not been for us seeing the fans' reactions to it every night. So getting in the room, playing the new material, trying stuff out is a huge part of what we do and the ethos of our sound. And the fact that we haven't been able to do that's been pretty difficult. So I just cannot wait to get out and play that record and play some of this new material.
Speaking of this, the new record, which is awesome. I'm gonna like gush as a fan this whole time, but it's so good because literally throughout your albums, it's your sound, but like graduated, I guess. Like it feels new, but it's still like you know what you're getting from Brothers Osborne at the same time. What song on this new project are you most excited to play live? Is there a song or a couple of songs that you're like, dude, people are going to go nuts?
Well, I mean, the whole, like TJ had mentioned before, we recorded the record pretty much so we could play any song off of the record live and it would work within, you know, the parameters of our set. But in particular, there are 2 songs. There's an instrumental called Muskrat Green, and it goes into a song called Dead Man's Curve. And it's really fast, like super fast up-tempo, which people would refer to as a barn burner. And it's something that country music we had done for a long time, but they haven't maybe have done that in a while. And we know that it's going to work really well in our set. I mean, it's high energy. It's really fast. I mean, we've played it a couple of times at some virtual things, and my ass is worn out by the end of it. But that's like a good thing. You know, you want that energy to come out in a song, so that one's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other odd thing about this record is we really recorded it with the live show in mind. I mean, we've learned so much from our fans over the years. We thought, let's make this record just knowing what they've liked and not liked about us in the past. And this record was literally made for performing live.
Yeah.
And we haven't done that once. So it's a really terrible timing on our end. However, once we get out and play, I think it'll be awesome. And it is a really fast-paced thing. That also, Muskrat Green that John was talking about, is the first instrumental we have. And this is our 3rd record in, which is kind of funny to think that we're a duo, that half of the duo is comprised of a guitar player, and this is the first time we've done an instrumental. And the name of that song, Muskrat Green, is named after kind of a local legend in our hometown of Deal, Maryland, where we're from.
Okay.
And he held the Guinness Book of World Records for shucking and eating oysters. I think.
Eating the most amount of oysters in like I think 2 minutes in the world. So he would shuck and eat oysters, and apparently he would just like slurp them down and finish it off with like a Bud Light or something, and then that was it.
They called him Muskrat Green.
Muskrat Green. I don't know what his real name is, but Muskrat.
Yeah, for the longest time, I thought he was just this like mythological character. I didn't realize he was a real person until later in life.
Listen, if you're gonna be known for anything, right?
That's pretty awesome.
It's shucking oysters,
slurping them down, and
famous country duo. Like,
yeah, we'll take second fiddle to Muskrat Green any day.
Yeah.
As far as writing and recording, I mean, is it tough to? Are you thinking next album already? Because like as much as touring hasn't happened,
always.
In fact, we're leaving when we leave here. We're going straight to writing for the next record.
Wow.
So you never stop.
I think every artist, as soon as you put your last record out, I mean, day one, you're already thinking like, all right, I'm going to get back in and cut another record.
Yeah.
Because by the time we're done recording these albums, sometimes they take months and months, and then when they're finished, they take months and months before they're even released. So by the time a record's out, most artists are kind of over it already. You know, you're like, all right, I want something new. And John and I cut our teeth creating here in Nashville, so we wrote a lot all the time. And so it was really kind of a new thing to us to release music and just have only that music out for a couple of years and then wait. We used to get in town, release demos and make new songs and kind of put them out to pitch around town monthly. So yeah, we're always ready for that.
Yeah.
Do you guys still have moments where like, and it's cool because as you, like, we're on the radio in Nashville, right? So every now and again we'll get tagged by an artist who's listening and they hear their song, which is cool because like then I'm like, oh, look who's listening.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like fan moments like that to this day, or maybe one that sticks out like, dude, we just got tagged on Instagram by Garth Brooks. Like Garth Brooks knows our music. How sick is this?
Yeah,
something to that effect.
No, it happens quite often. You know, we're not like super on social medias all the time. But I do remember like one time Reese Witherspoon tagged us in a story, but after a story is on for like 24 hours, you know, it's gone. So I'm like, oh my God, what did she say? I'm assuming it's good, but she could have been like, I freaking hate Brothers Osborne. I wish that they would go home. I don't know, but I'm like, it was still kind of cool.
She said something.
Yeah, she said something. She knows we exist, so that's awesome.
The funny thing is, I'm from the same school where like Reese Witherspoon would be like, she knows who I am.
Yeah, she knows who I am. Even if she hated us, I'm like, I don't care. She knows who we are. That's awesome.
Me, bro.
Oh my God!
When I got ignored, it's fine. You guys brought up obviously being a duo and getting out and doing your thing. That's celebrated with a nomination at the upcoming ACM Awards. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Thank you.
How does that? Does it feel different this year? Like obviously last year with the CMA Awards were the same. Like
well, we're still figuring out how they're going to do it. So I mean, you know, I'm hoping there is going to be some sort of audience. You know, that would certainly feel different than last year. I thought they did a really good job at the last ACM Awards.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it looked really good and sounded good for what they had to deal with. I thought they did a fantastic job, and hopefully this year, I think it's the first time we've been nominated for Album of the Year at the ACM. So that's really exciting also, and was certainly unexpected. So. I mean, I'm really, I don't know. I'm curious. I don't think really anyone knows yet exactly how they're going to do it. I don't think they know. I think they're kind of waiting to see how it's going to lay out, but we'll see. I'm definitely excited. Hopefully we can get out and play, and there will be some sort of fans there.
As far as like the duo thing is cool, right? And like you guys are always performing at a high level, so like the duo part is probably not much of a surprise, or at least it shouldn't be from where I sit. It's
not a surprise, but it still is. I mean, it's awesome.
Oh, it's amazing
because there is going to be a day where we don't get that nomination and it's going to sting.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, we got it. It's more of now a relief than it is like a shock. It's like, you know, when we announced the nominations on CBS This Morning with Kelsey Ballerini, and they, like they did with her, because we're on the air with her, they waited to the very last one to announce us. And there was part of me that was like, how many are there left?
I know. Yeah, we were last, and I was like, are we about to like lose our nomination live on air? And we have to pretend we're cool with this all of a sudden? Oh my God. I was so nervous.
Since we have cameras in the studio, what would be, let's say you read all the names and yours isn't on there, the camera's still on you. How do you like
Well, John can he can just dip his
Yeah,
cowboy
I just
hat
did
down.
my hat. Start adjusting,
Yeah.
pretend I'm like my zipper's stuck on my
Yeah,
noise.
and I would turn 50 Shades of Red. So
Oh, that would be terrible.
What does
like the connection, something's wrong with my connection.
Yeah,
Just shut the
we gotta
laptop.
go. We gotta,
Yeah.
What? There's a fire.
Wi-Fi's down.
Amazon's here. I gotta go. The album of the year thing is special because it's celebrating not a song, not a group of songs, but it's the album. It's the writing process. I mean, it's like for a full project, this is the highest honor, right? For the most part.
I think you know, in my own personal opinion, yeah, because we're very much an album band. We grew up listening to albums, and we love an entire work by an artist. And for us, we put every ounce of our energy, our creative energy, into our record. And in this one in particular, and we've mentioned this in the past, but it's kind of really important to know that this record almost didn't happen a lot of times. Like initially, and we were supposed to start in September of 2019, and then I ended up. Long story short, I ended up with something called tinnitus. It's ringing in the ears, and I was having really bad anxiety and depression around it. Some really tough mental health stuff surrounding that. So we pushed it back to December. We got in there for 4 days and recorded 4 songs. I got tinnitus in the other ear in that meantime, and I was it was really bad, a really tough time in my life. And then we got back in the studio. TJ got sick. He ended up with salmonella poisoning, but he powered through it.
It was weird.
It was weird. It was like something in the universe was telling us not to do this record. And in the full disclosure, I'm not exaggerating. I considered quitting music in the process of it because my ears were so bad. It was just
and for the listeners that aren't familiar with what that is, I mean, it's basically like if you go to a really loud concert and your ears are ringing like crazy afterward. It was like that 24/7.
But it doesn't stop. It's really bad. It's a chronic thing that I've learned to deal with. And so, man, for us, it was like this feels like we're not going to finish this record, and it feels like this could be the last. So we did everything we could on this record, like putting an instrumental on there, having a song where I get to sing a verse, and then letting the full band play and trying big, crazy musical things that we'd never tried before. Because in our hearts, we were like, this could be it. It could be over after this. So we put every ounce of our creative energy into this record, and then to get recognized for that is truly an incredible experience. I mean, we weren't expecting that. I hate to say we expect the duo nomination, but if we had to place our bets, we would have bet that we would at least be nominated. That came as this huge surprise, and I just started yelling expletives as soon as I found out. I don't know why that came out of me. I just started cussing really loud and jumping.
Yeah,
man, it was like an animal came out of me, and it was
awesome.
Kind
of funny. It literally was like cuss word. It was sounding like when a kid cusses, they have no context or they don't apply at all.
I just could not stop cussing. I lost it, man. It was awesome.
It's like when you're young and you get on a school bus and you can finally just say bad stuff to your friends, and you're cussing just randomly.
Yeah, it was amazing. I still I don't know, because sometimes you question, like TJ had mentioned before. We know how our music is doing by playing it in front of our fans. Like if it's doing well in front of our fans, it's great. Or if we're playing a B-side on the record and people are singing it, wow, okay, this record is cool, right? We think it's cool, but we don't know if anyone else does. There's no way to tell. And so we're not playing live, so there's no way to really get any type of feedback. And then to get that recognition was I still am so excited about it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you guys because it's the album of the year stuff is so cool, and I learned the depth of importance as I've got to talk to other artists who have been nominated, right? The album of the year thing is
that's a huge
doesn't happen
one.
a lot. You can put out 10 and you get one.
Yeah,
it's really hard. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when you get into those categories where it's everyone, it's the females, males, like duos, groups, everyone that are going after that one category. I mean, they're really hard to get nominations for. And the other thing that was really amazing about it is that we really have been getting our butts kicked this past year and a half. And we have our band that plays on our record. So it really felt like just this really great moment for all of us, because I think we all just needed a win, or just having that nomination just felt like, okay, God, all of our efforts, it felt like we were, affirmed.
Yeah.
Did you ever, and you let us behind the curtain on things that you guys were dealing with, did you ever, one of you guys pull the other side and be like, hey man, I don't know right now, we might have to
Well, that's the plus side, a huge plus side of being not only in a duo, but a duo with your brother. I mean, there are moments where you can see the other person's having a hard time, and you just pick up slack. It's all good, I mean, my brother and I, grew up like doing labor with our dads. If one person was kind of like, cut their hand and had to put a bandage on it, that means, well, you got to pick up the slack. It's all good. You just do it. You don't question it. It's what you're there for. So it's great. To be honest with you, this is a very difficult career. From the outside looking in, it probably looks easy and fun, and it is very fun a lot of times, but it is very, very difficult.
It is, yeah.
And challenging. And to do it on your own I have a lot of respect for people that can do that.
I always say that all the time, like, 'cause it used to be like the people on American Idol, everyone's like, oh God, like, what do you think about them? Like, and everyone saw it as taking the easy way. And then it was YouTube, and now it's TikTok. Everyone, what do you think of these TikTok artists? And I'm like, you know what? Like, straight up, like, if you can do this, good on you. Like, whatever it takes,
Absolutely.
It's hard as hell. Like, and especially I felt when we got our record deal, I thought it was like, this is it, we made it. It was like, a lot of people will tell you that's just like
harder.
that's like your admission to climb the mountain at that point.
Yeah.
And it's really, really difficult. So, I mean, for me, I'm like, you know what? Life is just hard for people in general. I'm like, you know what? Do what you got to do to make it work. I'm doing what I got to do to make it work. I'm not going to make it harder on you. Like, just do you. Just do your thing.
Getting a record deal is like pulling out of Lowe's with all the equipment in the back to build a house.
That's a great analogy.
Like, you got the equipment.
Like, you didn't build a house, dude. You haven't even started working yet.
Yeah,
here's
exactly.
a sleeping bag. out of the venues you've played, as things start to open up, like we just heard, Texas is doing their thing, and they're pretty much wide open already.
I mean, Texas is always doing their thing. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Texas Independence Day, they opened the whole state. Weird. Are there venues that are first on your list to hit? Obviously, playing in general means a lot to you guys, and you can see the way you feed off each other.
I can't think of a venue per se, but I mean, just simply playing a show. I think there's a lot of show. We've played so many shows, and once you start kind of rising in the ranks, you start getting a little picky of like the venues you play in the back. And I'm like, you know what? Put me in the most rattiest venue. I don't care. Like, let's go.
I mean, you're like a couple months away from just got a birthday party.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I'm like, you got a birthday party? We'll play for free. We'll just like show up with guitars. Like, hey, can we play your barbecue? Like, get out of here, weirdo. No, please. Will you please play your barbecue?
What have you gotten to spend more time on that road life and pounding the pavement has like taken away, right?
Oh, well,
like,
it's certainly hanging with friends and family. And, and this is another thing we talked about. I mean, a really odd thing about us and our friend group is that we have a lot of other friends who have gone to be successful, like Casey Musgraves and Maren Morris, and there's a bunch of people who were like, we all kind of hung out together before any of us had anything going on, and we were always be like, man, when this moment hits for us, it's going to be huge, and across the gamut, even people that went on Engineer Records, and I mean the list goes on, and then we like all started having success at the same time, and it was like, wow, our wildest dreams were coming true, and then we never ever saw one another. Like that's why there's award shows where people ask us like, what does it mean to be here? And a lot of people will say it feels like a family reunion, because it is. You don't get to see any of these people hardly. And so having that time to get kind of reacquainted with our friends, and we've gotten to spend as much time with our friends this year than it would probably normally take us just 10 years probably to spend the amount of time that we spend.
Yeah, this is the most amount of time that we've been home for as long as I can remember. And it is actually kind of nice. At first, we were supposed to go out with Miranda Lambert to Australia, and it was like a couple of days before we left and pull the plug. And I was like, oh, man, it sucks. Like we want to go out and play, and we really miss it. And then the financial side of it as well. I mean, to go from making a good income to like $8 is kind of tough, but it
is, but the odd thing, the other thing I think was really shown to us through this whole thing is that we lost more money this year than I ever thought I would ever make, like in my life.
Oh, wow!
And I oddly didn't lose any sleep over it. I weirdly was maybe in some ways the happiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a moment to really show me like the things that are really actually important in your life. And you tell yourself that.
Yeah.
But then to actually like experience that, to hang out with your friends and your family and have a lot of these moments where I'm just sitting on the back porch with a fire going, hanging out with my mom and hanging out with a couple other friends and thinking like, this is the same stuff that I did. This is the most fulfilling thing, and it's the same exact thing I did when I worked at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Like this is, and I don't care what you do, what you get. Those are always the things that are the most fulfilling.
100%.
I just thought of this, so I have to make it up as I go. Hang on one second. So here's what I'm gonna do, and we're gonna give this away on Instagram.
Okay.
And it doesn't. This is the makeshift set list.
Oh God.
Okay.
If you were putting a show together right now, this, I
dude,
should have prepped
You're
you.
asking us to do one of the most annoying
You
things.
are.
Oh, no.
Our tour manager right now would be so pissed if he saw us do this in a timely manner.
We hate making.
We
set
hate
lists.
doing this.
Like literally, our tour manager hounds us. He probably asks us 15 times a day. You make the set list. You make the set list. And we're always like, no, like leave me alone.
So
We'll do it though.
what are 5 songs you look forward to playing the most?
I want to start our next set, or when we finally get our set together, off with the title track of our last record called Skeletons, because it's got this really cool droney part.
She's digging.
Now we're giving away all of our secrets.
Well, we're giving this away on
tour
Instagram,
secrets.
right?
Yeah, we're gonna give it away on Instagram.
Okay.
So I'll do
No,
a
this is
short.
fine.
We'll do like
No,
a short 30-minute set.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. This is. Are you kidding me? By the time we get out and are playing shows, we could have like 2 more records in the pipeline. Who knows?
That is true.
Well, another thing with making set lists, or especially playing new songs, not always the song that you think is going to slay live works. I mean, it sometimes is completely backwards. Like we have a song called Weed, Whiskey, and Willie that it was really a song we recorded for ourselves. We just liked it and wanted it on
That's
the
a
record.
great song.
Thank
That's
you.
another great one, yeah.
But I would have never guessed it would have been one of our most requested songs live. And then there's some other songs, like we had a song called Pawn Shop off of our very first record that I thought was going to be a jam live, and it never gets requested. Almost every time we play it, it's awkward as hell. And it just doesn't work. I don't know. I do not know why. It doesn't. I mean, it's like one of my favorite songs we've ever done. So there is no rhyme or reason for this stuff. So once we get out and perform some of these new songs, some of them will get put on the chopping block.
Would you rather go without a set list? Like I know sometimes it's like
No.
some shows you're able just to roll, right?
It's good to have. Well, there's a lot. Like for instance, for like our utility player and stuff like. There's things that they need to know what's coming next because there's instrument changes. John's switching guitars. I'm switching guitars between acoustic and electric and different. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that needs to happen usually in between the song. So you need that, and also inevitably, here's another thing that happens. Like John was in the middle of making the set right now, and inevitably struggling with, is if we were to go play an acoustic show, I'll get up on stage, and I can't remember any. They'll be like, "What song are you gonna play?" I'm like, "What song?" Can't remember any of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. It's like when someone asks you, "What's your favorite song?" You're like, "What have you been listening to lately?" I'm like, I listen to a lot of music and I can't tell you one thing.
Yeah.
It's like this blank happens in your mind. So you definitely will need like a set list, or if we were to do something acoustic, we would just write down like a bunch of songs and then we might pick from that. But if we're playing with our band, we usually want it to go in an order because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen.
I made a quick 45-minute set list.
What do you got?
Which is funny. We've had other artists come on our bus and look at our set list, and they're like, you guys are playing an hour and a half and you're doing 11 songs? I'm like, yeah, but that's like, 30 minutes of guitar solos. So,
Yeah, I
The
know.
album cut version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, most people would probably play like 20.
I don't know, off the top of my head, and this is where it all goes wrong, is when TJ and I have to like, okay, what are we going to do here? No, I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe we should move this on there. I don't know. And by the time we get to that point, I'm like, all right, I'm going to eat some Cheerios or something, then we'll figure it out. And then he goes, all right, I'm going to go outside and do this. And then 2 hours later, we have not finished this damn set list. But off the top of my head, it's like Skeletons, right? And then right in All Night, the new single, which is like kind of a banger. And then we'll go Throwback into Rum, which is like a fan favorite, sing along. Then we'll go right to a new song off a record called I'm Not For Everyone, which has been requested a lot on our socials. Got to take it down a little bit. We'll do 21 Summer for all the ladies out there. and then we'll go Stay a Little Longer, It Ain't My Fault. I can't promise that Stay a Little Longer, It Ain't My Fault are going to be, because that's how we've ended our sets for like a couple of years and it always works. So we might want to.
We're going to have to challenge
ourselves to try something different.
Everyone's like, we know what the next 2 songs are. You guys leaving yet?
But if you were to put me on the spot on air to make a set list, that's the one I would
We
make.
haven't made a set list in a year and a half.
I was just gonna ask. Is that the first set setlist you've
let me
made.
tell you this.
Yes,
Well,
it
here-
is.
This is how crazy like things have been too. So the last show that we played as a full band was the halftime of the Thanksgiving show in Detroit.
Yeah.
Where we were on primetime national television about to perform, and the power goes out.
Yeah.
And you may or may not be familiar with that.
Yeah.
It was literally, it's the stuff that you dream of for nightmare situations.
Yes.
And it was like, what has actually happened? The power went out to Detroit, like right as we were about to play. Like, what are the odds of that? Like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? And also, pay your electric bill. So that's the last show we played. So we're ready for some redemption.
But like, would you rather at this point play an outdoor show in the middle of the day just to make sure like less issues? You're not going to deal with the lights going out.
I don't care at this point. I'll play with the power out. I'll play blindfolded at
We've
this
done
rate.
it.
I'm like,
We've played with the
done it.
power out. God, when we were first cutting our teeth, we played this fraternity party. And
Oh, the ultimate worst gig we've ever played.
You would need we need another radio segment to be able to tell you about this gig, this one gig. But we were playing, and we'll get like 2 songs in. The sun goes down. They flip the lights on, and then all the lights shut off at the stage. And then there's no one there running the stage because it's a fraternity party. So like all these like drunk frat kids are like trying to figure out how to get the lights back on. We're performing in the dark.
Literally in the dark. Sounds working,
and the
lights
lights never come back on. Like the whole entire thing was like a disaster. I could go on and on and on of this part of the show.
Was that worse than Detroit? Like,
That
was
Detroit
way
was
worse.
actually really fun. I mean, you're on national television, the lights go out, and you have to stand there like a kind of a schmuck. But that's fine, whatever. It was really amazing we got to do that. But it was way worse because I mean, I'll go through a quick list. It started like raining / hailing, so then they had to cover everything in tarps.
It was the spring, and it just rained.
Had a randomly cold day. They're like, we need to put some rugs on the stage or whatever. So they started grabbing rugs from frat houses. Or just use your imagination. A rug from a frat house.
Nah.
What is in that rug? Everything you don't want to be in a rug.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, throw it over. Sure. They threw it over. I mean, this is gross, but they threw it over and it landed on my head, and I smelled it. I was like, yep, there is puke on this rug. And I pulled it. I looked on the ground. I'm like, there is puke on that rug, and it was just on my head. Oh my god! We haven't even started the show yet. Got on there, started snowing / raining or whatever. It's freezing cold. They decided there is a crawfish boil, so they're like throwing crawfish everywhere, and it's just kind of okay, whatever.
And they're throwing them onto these tarps, so like all the trash on these tarps, so they can just like have an easy cleanup and just scoop the tarps up.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, and that was the tarps that they used to kind of cover all.
So once it started raining and snowing, they dump all the crawfish stuff off the tarps and then use those tarps to cover all of our equipment.
Oh, disgusting.
Yeah.
And then and then at some point in time, someone pulls the fire alarm.
I forgot about that.
We were actually supposed to start playing earlier. They pull a fire alarm. Fire trucks show up. Everyone clears out. Like everyone just somehow, I don't know where these kids went, but they were like all gone in like 15 seconds.
Because a lot of them weren't 21, so they're like,
so they just
scram.
like evaporated. I'm like, were they like in the attic or something? And then, so we come back, we go to play, and then our tour manager locked at this point we were touring in a van. She couldn't get the van. That was how the day started.
Yeah,
the guy wouldn't rent her a van because they got in an argument, and we're sitting in a Home Depot parking lot waiting for her
for a long time.
So we finally go there. Anyhow, so we get there. She locks the keys in the van, so we can't get our guitar or instruments out of it. Finally, we get into the van. We get out. We play the show. The lights get shut off in the middle of the show. Then we go to leave, and then we get like 30 minutes down the road, and we realized we had left all of our guitars there.
Under the crawfish.
Yeah. And we were like, how did we forget all of our guitars? And so luckily, the sound company was able to bring them here to Nashville. I feel like we're even missing things.
I
This
feel
whole
like we
day,
are too. It was
one of those
one
days
thing
where-
after another. And I tell you what, though, it's those experiences that set you up. Like anyone can do anything when everything goes right. You know, like if even when it comes down to like plumbing, for example, right? So we're plumbers' sons. We grew up doing plumbing. I can do a fair bit of plumbing around the house, and I can do it when everything goes right. What I can't do is when it goes wrong, and that's where experience comes in. So doing that, years before doing this halftime show in Detroit, kind of like sets you up to go, you know what?
I've been here before.
We've been here before. Let's just relax.
The only difference is it was, last time it was to 200 frat kids, and now it's to 4 million people.
4 million people on Thanksgiving Day.
On national television.
But all those experiences set you up because things will inevitably go wrong. And that's why it's great to have the crew that we have. They've been through it all. They've seen it all. So when something goes wrong, they don't panic. Boom, their next thought is, we're going to fix this, and then they get on the case. So you have to be thankful for those experiences. Do you want to live them again?
Just things are going to go wrong all the time. Because, I think about this.
Murphy's Law.
Truly, honestly, it's kind of impressive that more things don't go wrong. Like, when we show up at a show, which we would do typically if things are normal, near 150 shows a year, and to think of every single cable that is on stage, it's got to be plugged in 2 different locations where it goes into one side and then in another. Yeah. And then you times that by like a couple hundred cables. All of those connections have to be right. The power, the equipment, we're working with digital equipment. There is so many points of failure. Yes. It is quite amazing that shows don't often just completely. And then you think of like these shows. Well, that's a good example. They got to wheel a stage out and you got to throw it all together and perform. You get these award shows. They're wheeling sets on and off in like 30 seconds, and then here comes the big thing, big reveal, and you got to play. It's
the fact
really
that it
impressive.
goes right is like nearly a miracle at the end of every set.
It goes right almost every time too.
Yeah, almost every time.
Yeah,
I'll give you two scenarios. Sorry, we're going off the rails here, but
you're good,
I'll give you 2 key scenarios of this. One, we played a show. I can't remember where it was, but it was somewhere in the Midwest, maybe like in Nevada or something like that. I can't remember exactly where it was, but power went down. It was at a fair. This part of the fair, like all the power.
That was North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nevada, North Dakota. Starts with the N, same thing. And anyway, so TJ remembers everything. Was this town North Dakota, population 4,906? I'm like, I think it was in like Nebraska or something. Anyway, so my memory's awful. But anyway, so half the power to the fair went down. You have to bring in these generators to do it. So they literally had the Army Corps of Engineers donate generators. And but we couldn't do a full-scale show because we didn't have enough to run the power. So last second, we were like, dude, we're not going to not do the show. People are here.
Everyone was, it was
packed. It was
packed. Everyone was in their seats
packed.
waiting for the show to happen, and they were about to cancel it. And we were like, they're already here.
We decided, hey, we could do a breakdown acoustic version of the set. Less inputs, less power, whatever. And we're like, screw it, let's do it. And man, that show was so much fun. And the people that were there had a blast because they knew, we walked out and we're like, y'all, the power went out. This is all we could do.
Huron or something?
Huron, there he goes, bragging over here.
Does that sound?
It's amazing.
Like
his memory is so
else,
ridiculous.
Lake Huron, where is that?
So
we'll look it up.
Anyway, so we played it and it was phenomenal. It was one of the more fun shows we played. We couldn't use in-ear monitors. We had to use wedges.
Yeah, Huron, South Dakota.
There you go. He's only right 99% of the time.
George.
One of the Dakotas. You got a 50-50 chance.
And but anyway, it was great. And because our crew has had that experience, they were able to get the job done. And somehow, for some reason, I'm blanking on the second one. And then we were playing out in California, and this is a couple years before that. And we did our sound check. And the roof started caving in, essentially. The roof started falling onto the stage. It was like plaster, and they're like, we can't play. As soon as the bass frequencies happen, the subs get going, this damn place could collapse.
That was in Boise, Idaho, by the way.
So that was in Boise, Idaho. But then, like a week later, it happened again in California.
Yeah.
And
literally 2 times in a week.
2 times in a week. God. It's never happened in our lives since before.
We got
or
finished
after.
playing, and they were literally yelling at us to get off the stage as the roof was
yeah.
falling onto the stage, big, huge, massive pieces of plaster. And they're stopping. I'm like, we just got to it. It ain't my fault. This is what everyone came to see. And they're like, get off stage. I'm like, no.
And then
it was actually kind of rock and roll. The place was going nuts because they could see it caving in on us. We're like, we're playing like it was really that important.
Yeah.
And then the next week we go to a show and we're about to go on stage. And the same thing happens. The roof caved in.
Right. So we were like, well, we have to cancel it. And we're like, we can't cancel on these people. They got all the way here, and we actually do want to play a show. And our bass player was like, dude, let's play a show on top of the bus. So that's what we did. We got some small equipment out. Our crew just took everything apart, set up a tiny acoustic set stage on top of our bus. We crawled up on top of our bus through the little fire hatch, and we played a 30-minute acoustic show for everybody. It was so fun.
So fun. And I honestly, I wish I could say that I wasn't, but I'm deathly afraid of heights. And
Same.
I wasn't thinking like when I would go up there that it would be like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, y'all. Like this is scary as hell. Like I went up there and I was like, my legs were like locked up. It was weird.
Yeah,
but then we
didn't drink
It was
during
fun.
that set for obvious reasons.
And I wouldn't move. Literally, when I finally made it to the microphone. I'm like, I am not moving either one of my feet. Like I get vertigo so easy. I was just standing there like barely moving at all.
Well, you don't have like, if you see an artist get lifted during a show, there's usually like, if there isn't a harness, there's like a rail on whatever's lifting them. So at least there's something.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
on the bus.
I know,
No.
because that moment of like, wow, this is so rock and roll. You're performing on top of your bus, and then you fall off of it.
Yeah, you
Ruins the
go
whole
from
thing.
cool to lame really fast. Yeah.
Well, best of luck at the ACM Awards.
Thanks, man.
I can't wait to hear what the next. Do you have the next project lined up? Any songs done already?
No, we have a few songs written.
Yeah, we've got. I think we have kind of
working.
direction you want to go in. I mean, that's kind of a very helpful thing is to know kind of what you might want it to sound like, and it'll
Yeah.
take some turns here and there. But I think we're writing for it now.
Yeah.
Does the name of the album come early or at the end?
It comes at the end.
Oh, it's like one of the last things that
Yeah,
happens.
and it's not an easy thing to decide, actually. It's so not easy that our last record, we just named it the town that we recorded in. Like, it's hard, but it was cool because it was a thing, but it's not easy. The only thing harder than that is coming up with a band name. So we were so lazy that we took an already existing band name and just switched the words. We're like, fine, we'll catch flack for this later. I can't possibly spend any more brain power thinking of a damn band name.
I know. And then you do all that, and you're ready to go, and then they're like, we need merch designs. And you're like, what?
Oh, God.
Now I got to design merchandise? Like, I just made a record. Like,
You guys do have some dope merch.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
It's tough to have good merch.
You hear that, everybody? We have dope merch. Please go to brothersosborne.com.
Because rent is due.
Rent
here it
is
is, dude. We're
due.
making no money.
And the funny thing is, I had bought a hat at one of the last shows you did in Las Vegas at the Brooklyn Bowl, which bowling while you guys were performing felt like disrespectful.
It was awesome. I
That's
loved
cool.
it.
That sounds
But like,
awesome.
I was
Yeah.
trying to school people.
There you go.
Your hats
Oh.
actually fit big heads.
That's
That's,
because we have big heads.
big
Yeah.
heads.
We're big
The
head
struggle is
sympathizers.
real.
Yeah.
I think I even said that at the show because I'm like, I want like merch. Like I want to represent the artists that I'm a fan of while we do radio stuff, right? But my head is huge and all the hats like are like,
Yeah,
Oh,
oh, God,
dude.
it drives me crazy. I know. And the thing is, John's wearing a hat right now. We love wearing hats. And that's
Yeah.
always the thing. We're like, we always get a sample in, and John and I are like, we can test it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, then you have the opposite problem. Then you have like some people have little heads and they put it on and it like goes past their eyes. So you need like variety.
Yeah.
I think that's
Hey,
where the
man.
dad hat comes in. I can't wear a dad hat.
I can't either.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they call them dad hats. I have 2 kids and I look horrible in it. That just doesn't make sense.
I know and like mostly it's young kids that wear them.
That's what I'm saying.
It is.
I mean, my dad's hat, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck at the ACM Awards. I can't wait to hear. And
Thank
with
you.
This album, I mean, I don't want to rush y'all, but hopefully sooner than later. Because
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
totally.
Brothers Osborne. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks
dude.
for having us.